In this video, I'm going to talk to you about pairing fonts. So let's talk about where the different fonts come into play. Now you've got a header, so you have a recipe title, and then we're going to have yields, we have notes, ingredients list, directions step number, and the recipe footer. So typically, when you think about fonts, you have to think about hierarchy. Now, this is kind of boring graphic design talk, but it's important to know because you want your book to be visually appealing, right? So you basically want your big, fancy, eye-catching font to be your header. You don't want that font to be the body text. So what you're going to do is, I'll show you right here, page titles. If you go up here, we have a few really funky selections for the title. So Oswald is one of them. It's very bold and very thick. And then, sorry, we have another one, Pacifico. That's it's like a script font, but it's not too like girly or frilly. It's just pretty basic. Then we have Pinion Script, which is very fancy and very scrolly. And then we have Playball. That's a little bit, let's see if I can zoom in here, show you. It's not necessarily a script and it's not really a print either. It's kind of a mix of both. So that one's pretty fun. Railway is very thin and that's a pretty good body text font selection. Architect's Daughter is handwritten. We have Bangers, that's a really big, bold one. Chelsea Market is a little bit fancy. It's got a little bit of character to it, so I wouldn't really use this in the body text either. Cherry Cream Soda is a nice fun one. Dancing Script is another script font. Homemade Apple is really pretty. I would never use this for a body text font just because it's really hard to read once you get into the nitty-gritty like this. It's just not as easy to read. It doesn't flow as well. So I would stray away from that. But let's go back to this. Homemade Apple, Indie Flower. That's a pretty fun one. Let's go to Lobster. That one's big and bold. Then you have Laura, which I love to use Laura for everything, really. It's a great overall font. This Monotone, I don't know how to pronounce it, is pretty fun. It's pretty playful. Has like a really funky um, some like design in here, so that one's pretty fun. I definitely wouldn't use that one as a body text font. Then we have another cursive script font. This one's pretty basic. I think the rest of these are really basic. Definitely Montserrat basic. So with that being said, if you're going to pick a really frilly font, I would definitely go with a more subtle body text font, something more in the range of maybe Libre Baskerville. Yeah, I would pair these together. So you want to get something that's it doesn't have to be like the easiest to read. This one's going to be, because it's going to be bigger, that typically this would be about this size. I'd size that up if I'm going to use Pinion Script. But if you have a fancy cursive script font up here, I would definitely use a more subtle font down here. Maybe Libre Baskerville or Open Sans even. That's a pretty easy to read one. If I was going to go with something a little bit more of like Homemade Apple, I love to pair Homemade Apple with either Laura down here or Libre Baskerville. That's a good one too. So I hope that helps. I hope that was a little bit of an explanation of how I tend to pair these fonts together. But I would definitely only stick to the fun fonts up here and not down here in your body text. It's just too hard to read. If you were to put Pinion Script down here, it's just too difficult. So give people's eyes a rest. Let them look at these more basic, subtle fonts and keep all the fun stuff up here in the title.